So I just got done watching episode four. Yes, episode four of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now, what exactly transpired in the episode? What is the symbolism? What do I think as someone who's actually read the Genesis light novel? Well, I'll go ahead and get into it. One thing that's been kind of a common theme they haven't, that this episode seems to be the culmination of, kind of a sort of small arc, if you will, is of Shinji constantly feeling like he needs to, constantly having this feeling of running away. He's constantly saying to himself, don't run away, don't run away, don't run away, fighting that in himself before this episode where he finally does. And Misato discovers that he's gone, just left a note. His classmates come searching for him, the bad boy and the videographer that had helped him initially. Well, that he had helped, I should say. And they're pretty upset. And she lies to them, saying, oh, he's just, you know, at our nerve headquarters and all. Of course, he's not. But he decides he's gonna let his classmates bring some study guides and express some concern for him before leaving. And we discover that Shinji's been wandering the countryside. And then Misato, after they leave, gets kind of throws a bit of a fit and frustration with him. And Shinji is just shown being really frustrated and tired and hiding, weary, depressed even. And we see him just getting further and further away. Eventually, we see the videographer just kind of messing around in a field, having some fun. And he discovers Shinji while he's playing around. And Shinji and him end up sharing a meal and talking for a little while before the two hide in the videographer's tent for the night. Well, go to bed in the videographer's tent for the night. But they're discovered by some nerve agents who take him back and the take Shinji back to Nerve headquarters. Meanwhile, the videographer heads back, and the bad boy chews him out for a second. He's like, "Dude, what was I supposed to do? They're agents. What am I? I'm a kid. I'm gonna die if I do that. No, thank you." Misato then confronts Shinji, and he kind of responds to her a bit neutrally. She'd recounted this earlier to her doctor, for kind of friend, I guess, or coworker, shortly before Shinji had initially run away. She was noticing that he only tends to respond with yes ma'ams and no ma'ams. He doesn't ever give any kind of emotion behind what he's saying. He just goes with the flow and shuts himself off so he doesn't get hurt. So when he comes back, she had some concern for him about this. She confronts him for a while, but she's like, okay. He's like, look, I understand you'll put the sick chick in the robot again if I don't come. So sure, I'll pilot it. She's like, no, you can't worry about what me is about her. You can't worry about what I'm thinking. You can't worry about everybody's judgment on you. You gotta worry about you. After she does that she leaves. Shinji decides to go ahead and resign from Nerve in light of her words, and leaves. He asks if he could see her one last time, but they're like, we can't even tell you where she is, dude. That's confidential information. So he starts heading out to a common to a take a train to leave to wherever his home was before the series began. But before he can do that, the videographer and Bad Boy confront him, and the Bad Boy convinces Shinji to punch him, as he deserves it after what he did to Shinji. They try to convince him that what he's doing is good, and say they should stay, but they don't try to force it on him. And then he gets away by some nerve agents to the train, and as they're going away, he fights back for a second, tries to shout at them, first time really expressing emotions outside of a life threatening circumstance, saying that he's just scum and a coward before leaving off. And then the boys watch the train, and as it pulls up and pulls away, and Misato comes just in time to see it pulling away. Sorry, I'm Warren. Ah. So they see the train depart, and they think he's gone. She thinks she's missed him, and they're all silent for a second. But Shinji didn't get on the train. He decided not to. He decided not to run away anymore. And when he realizes that Misato is there, he says, "I'm home," and then she says, "Welcome back." And the video ends. Then and the episode ends with her and the boys glad to see he's staying after all. And this episode seems to touch more on the themes of depression and of fear of interaction, two feelings that could be very well felt by both Adam and Cain, because as I shared before, I believe that since this adaptation of Genesis is combining Adam and Cain into Shinji, with perhaps the train representing running away from this fight with God, hiding away from all the people. Instead, he decides to stay amongst the sinful peoples, fight against these angels that are taking away his home. This continued rebellion, whether with this sort of righteousness to it this holy battle of fighting for his home, even if it's against God himself, even if there's this apathetic God still trying to prove himself, even if it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is, even if he doesn't need to compete for his supposed God's affection. Again, this is more looking at a flawed God, like the Paradise Lost fan fiction presented, instead of necessarily the more perfect version that is supposedly in the Old Testament and New Testament. Again, I don't feel as much to analyze as this is kind of all part of that, but I do feel this more solidifies my idea that he is the amalgamation of Adam and Cain, and perhaps even Jacob after running away from Esau after stealing his birthright. Perhaps it's also that of that not running away, facing these things, facing these angels, which could be an amalgamation of, perhaps the angels themselves are amalgamations of other supposed biblical villains, like in Esau in a way, even though he was no villain truly, and other characters you're seeing in Genesis. These aren't just the ones that took this home. That'd be why they're true villains, is that they're also influenced by the serpent in the garden, not just the angels that guarded it. This rebellion against all these things and this fight of deciding what he's really standing for and who he's standing for, perhaps is more the direction they're trying to take this series. Again, until I see the next episode, I can't give further inclination towards that, but I think that is this direction where it's going. Either way, we've seen the conclusion of the first arc, which means they're very clearly taking a drastically different path of creation, and then Adam and Eve leaving the Garden of Eden, bringing sin into the world. So they've kind of like amalgamated that arc into these couple episodes, as well as seeming to take elements from later arcs. But we'll see in future parts what that actually looks like. But I do feel for the boys, I'm wondering if they're representing perhaps the good people that were in the world, because surely not all people were cruel in the times of Cain. All people outside, some of them perhaps were good, and they're representing those. The other apathetic and unkind classmates, are the ones representing the evil and apathetic, which in turn, its own way, can be an evil. And his caring classmates could be the good. And Misato could perhaps be, again, another representation of Eve. Perhaps even the boys have some representation of Eve in that of partnering up in this sort of rebellion. Perhaps even Jacob's wife Rebecca is a combination of perhaps Sarai, or maybe I don't know. Again, as we get later into the series, more established characters, though, to give you the better picture of where all I'm thinking this is lining up. That so far, I am very intrigued to see what this is exactly trying to say there. I'm not sure what the Lady Doctor is supposed to be, but she's certainly Lady Doctoring it up, or Lady Scientisting it up. Not sure if she can be a doctor and a scientist, I suppose. Probably is supposed to be canonically a doctor, but like a doctor of science, I guess. I don't know. Find out in the next one, so I'll go and check that out, give my thoughts on it as soon as I can. So thank you so much for watching, for anyone who's gotten through to this point. If you did enjoy, please be sure to give a like or whatever equivalent you have on your social media. Save this, share this, comment on it, subscribe, follow, what have you. And this is G friggin' W, wishing you a good night, good day, and good friggin' bye.